Hi, Mrs. Ratcliffe here again, and I'm talking to you now about tests for divisibility. The divisible is just a term that means something can be divided by something else. So, for example, 10 is divisible by 5. So, it's just a terminology. And these tests are actually a really handy shortcut. So that if you're looking at a really big number, can you tell straight away whether or not it can be divided by a smaller number? Just sort of like little tricks that people back in the day used to use when they didn't have a calculator right up their sleeve to check things out. So there are different rules for different numbers, and we're just going to go through the different rules so that you can see an easy way to test for divisibility. So we'll start with 2. That's pretty easy. With 2, it's just an even number. So any even number is divisible by 2. Pretty straightforward. Number 3, this is a really cool trick that I learned when I was in school. If you add up all the digits of the number, so for example, I've put here 729. Well, 7 plus 2 plus 9 is 18, and we know that number is divisible by 3. So we know that 729 is also divisible by 3. Okay, for number 4, if you want to test to see if something is divisible by 4, you just look at the last 2 numbers. If the last 2 numbers are divisible by 4, so the example I've used here is 2036, then the number is divisible by 4 because we know that 36 divided by 4 is 9. So 2036 must also be divisible by 4. Okay, for 5 is pretty easy and straightforward as well. If the number ends in a 0 or a 5, then you know it's divisible by 5. Easy. Number 6. Okay, if the number is divisible by both 2 and 3, so there you're just using your 2 and your 3 rule, then it will also be divisible by 6. So for example, 816 is even, but also if you add 8 plus 1 plus 6, you get 15, which is divisible by 3. So that number is divisible by 2 and 3, therefore it must be divisible by 6. Now, number 7, I'm going to spend a moment on 7 because 7 is a little bit trickier. With number 7, you're going to double the last digit of the number and then subtract it from the rest of the number. And then if that number is divisible by 7 or a 0, then the number is divisible by 7. It's probably the trickiest rule we've had yet. So let's look at some examples. Okay, if you look at number 63, we already know that's divisible by 7, so it's an easy one. Double the last digit. So 3 doubled is 6. Subtract it from the other number, which is also a 6. 6 minus 6 is 0, so yes, 63 is divisible by 6. Or by 7, sorry. Now let's look at this one. We're doubling just the last number. So 4 doubled is 8. Now we're going to subtract 8 from 15. See how I got the 15? I got it from these other 2 numbers here. 15 1 is 8 equals 7. So the number 154 is divisible by 7. That's how you do that. Okay. Great. All right, number 8. So number 8, the way you test is if the last 3 digits form a number divisible by 8. So some examples I have here are 2032, because we know that 32 is divisible by 8, or even 320. Those numbers are definitely going to be divisible by 8. Number 9, you do it just the way you do 3. If you add the digits together, so for example 4 plus 5 plus 8 plus 1, you get 18. 18 is divisible by 9, so you know the number 4,581 must also be divisible by 9. With number 10, again a really easy one. If the last digit is a 0, it must be divisible by 10. So for example, 1,080 divisible by 10. Number 11. This one is pretty tricky, but you can give it a go. If you alternatively subtract and then add all the digits together, and then the number you come up with is divisible by 11, including 0, then it's divisible by 11. I think they worked pretty hard to find this rule. So for example, the number 132, 1 minus 3 plus 2 is 0, so yes, that's divisible by 11, theoretically. Okay, so let's try this one, 9,251. So we'll do 9 minus 2 plus 5 minus 1. So 9 minus 2 is 7 plus 5 minus 1, and we get 11. So yes, 9,251 is also divisible by 11. Okay, and the last one, 12. If the number is divisible by 3 and 4, so if you use the rules for 3 and 4, then that number is also divisible by 12. So for example, 8,376. This number, if you add the digits up, 8 plus 3 plus 7 plus 6, the number is 24. That's divisible by 3, so that works. And if you look at number 76, that's divisible by 4. So that means that 8,376 is divisible both by 3 and 4, which means it must be divisible evenly by 12. Now, don't panic if some of these rules are a little bit too complex or just seem too tricky to bother to remember. The idea is that these divisibility tests are a shortcut. The idea is for you to use them as a tool so you can assess how evenly you're going to be able to divide something. They're meant to be a tool for mental maths, but have a play with them, have a bit of a go, and try them out. See what you come up with. Okay?